The Snapmaker U1 Kickstarter campaign is officially over, and it was a success. No one has expected 20,000 backers contributing $20 million US. That's record-breaking for 3D printing. And where there's big success, there's huge responsibility. Even more when money heaps like these are generated through a crowdfunding campaign. If you have seen my preview on the U1, you've realized I'm a fan of the machine at that price, but I also addressed a lot of to-dos for Snapmaker to make the U1 a successful product. And success doesn't mean to just sell as many machines as possible, it means to make customers happy by shipping a polished product. There have been plenty of meaningful updates over the last weeks, on the hardware and the software side. Today I want to give you an update on the progress they've made, by going through my list of flaws I put together during my testing of the U1 prototype. This video is sponsored and supported by Snapmaker. Thanks a lot for this, and also for allowing me to give some sneaky insights into the progress of the secret beta program. So, let's go! Let's start with the most critical topics. The hardware-related flaws I realized during my testing. The first backers will receive their machines in December, so there is still time to polish slicer and firmware, but there's not for the hardware. The machines are in production and getting loaded on the ships heading to US, Europe or wherever. My number one topic is, or was, the automated filament loading, which failed relatively often and forced me to do mostly manual filament loading. Well, that's a mixed topic of hardware and software improvements here. Anyway, Snapmaker has worked on both. They optimized the design of the crucial points in the filament feeding path from feeder to toolhead to not have any step differences. With these measures applied, the internal testing report I'm allowed to show you states a 100% success rate after a total of 400 loading and unloading operations. The updated feeding procedure software-wise also seems to help on my prototype even without the hardware changes. I had one failed loading since then. So, sounds good, but I can only test it when my backed machine arrives in December for the review on 24/7 printing. The alignment issues for toolhead, panels and doors seem to have been solved mostly as well. Stronger magnets for the door and updated molds for the plastic parts come with stronger buckles and optimized dimensions. The problems and solutions on the spool holders have a similar taste. On the early prototype they detach rather easily, for instance when removing filament without taking care. Again here, geometrical adjustments solved the problem according to Snapmaker, confirmed by a small test batch they initiated. There is no solution though for those rubber pieces prone to falling off. We might have to live with that. Like on other prototypes, the print bed fixation on mine was loose as well. I had a closer look at it and identified bolts screwed into plastic and all threads were stripped. The torque used at the factory seemed too high here. I drilled the threads and I used M3 bolts with washers and lock nuts to attach my bed properly. According to Snapmaker, that issue was solved by redesigning the part and the mold for the holes where the coarse thread screws attach. That seems like a proper solution. The other stuff, like the waste bin having too much play and the wiper pads being worn out too quickly, have been solved or improved as well. Summed up, looks promising on the hardware side, but still need to check and test in person. What I was able to check in person were the software improvements which, for this video, were kind of a moving target as the latest firmware update was provided hours ago and some days earlier the beta testers got a new version of Snapmaker's Orca slicer. Let's start with this one, as major flaws have been improved, even though it can still be a bit edgy. Next to the automated filament feeding, the remaining two major problems I had during testing of the prototype in August have been solved, mostly. Uploading bigger prints from the slicer is now flawless. I tried several uploads and it worked every time. This was a very important one for convenience and workflow. Also, way more filament profiles are available now. I was especially curious about the TPU profile, as we saw a lot of stringing on the CAD and my multi-material print failed for the preview video. And here is improvement. The CAD could still be a bit better concerning stringing, but it shows noticeably less now. And even though there was a layer shift, which I can't explain, that foot with flexible TPU joints now worked. The TPU toolhead didn't clog anymore. Good work on the profiles here. The frame rate of the camera footage has improved as well. From below 1 FPS it's now at over 1 FPS in cloud mode and around 4 to 5 FPS in LAN mode. That's noticeably better, but sorry, that's still not great, and I believe that's all what's possible with the existing hardware. So don't expect 2 digits FPS for the camera footage when your U1 arrives in December. Final note on the Snapmaker Orca slicer: performance has been improved and doesn't cause my system to stutter anymore, but it still can be edgy and freeze. Also, overall performance on my rather beefy workstation is not great for big sliced parts. Snapmaker keeps improving though, fingers crossed for the next month there. And I mean, they did bring Soft Fever, the creator of Orca Slice, into the beta testing program, so I have high hopes here. Huge improvements for the BAP mesh too. I criticized the probing speed in my preview video, and here we go, it's a lot faster now. They were able to increase the standard full mesh from 11x11 probe points to 13x13 and half the time needed for that to around 7 minutes. The UI for the touchscreen has been improved as well. The contrasts are better now, like for example those numbers for the filaments or here for the filament choice. The overall UX feels a bit more intuitive now as well. And very convenient now, they improved the filament loading and unloading scripts according to my wishes. You can now choose all or specific toolheads to be loaded or unloaded. Prusa Excel users would appreciate a lot to have that. Preparing a print with 4 different filaments, just select all 4 toolheads and let the U1 do the work automatically. Same for loading the filaments into the hot end. Also, aborting the unloading script works now, before it was stuck in a loop. Last but not least, the filament runout script seems to work properly now as well, and the LED lights turn on when starting a print. So, we've seen a lot of improvements. What's even left to do for Snapmaker? First of all, we don't have Clipper's adaptive bed mesh yet. That option only probes what's necessary and could be done just before every print. I don't worry about this one though, as it's a native Clipper feature. What's not improved yet, referring to my list? The screen tearing I see on my machine. Not sure if that's hardware or software related. Maybe there's just something weird happening concerning the refresh rates software versus hardware. Also, having a motors off button in the UI would be great. For various reasons you could have the need to move the XY axis manually. It would have been awesome to have an option to heat up or cool down all or selected toolheads. Reasons for that can be plenty. To close up the to-dos, let's come back to the slicer, Snapmaker Orca, which is also still in beta. In my list of flaws, I addressed the auto-ranging when cloning parts. I found out though, shame on me, you can just turn that off in the preferences. It's a standard Orca slicer feature. Therefore, that's solved. Also, I'd like to have a full screen mode for the camera preview in the device tab. Not a huge deal, but it would be nice to have. And again, before releasing Snapmaker Orca to the public, they need to further improve slicer performance, profiles and the stability of connection printer to slicer. Around 2 months to go for this. All in all, it's good to see that Snapmaker takes the U1 very seriously, and they seem to have solved the most important issues many had during the early test phase before the Kickstarter launch. What's left is mainly polishing Snapmaker's Orca slicer concerning performance and connectivity. Watching Jonathan's factory tour and Snapmaker's own content deliver good insights and confidence concerning production. They seem on track to deliver the early pledges in December. I managed to be one of the very early backers and can't wait to check the updates for the review. Judging from this shipping info list, it doesn't seem like future regular orders, as soon as they are possible, could be shipped before spring to summer 2026. If you can't wait and still want to save money, Snapmaker started a late pledge campaign, which still gives you the chance to get a new one at a discount and probably a bit earlier than regular orders. If you decide to get one, consider using my link below to support 24/7 printing without any costs. And yes, a thumbs up for this video is free as well. Thanks for that. Of course, there's nothing wrong about waiting for the reviews of the shipped final production units. I hope to get my review video done and published before Christmas this year. 2025, the year of Toolchangers. H2C, Index, Core 1 with Index, exciting stuff to come on 24/7 printing. Make sure to be subscribed and ring the bell to not miss that. Thanks for watching, servus and bye bye! Thank you, Shulo!